we're completely in line with each other, right? And even though I have the superior position, my superior position is based on the idea that, one, I have infinite base, so I can't be swept, right? He can. He's a little less structurally manipulatable. Manipulatable. Nice, good one. So, but our shoulders are in line, our hips are in line, and so we're both strong here. But I can create angles that are going to be effective for me to attack, and he can create angles that are going to be effective for him to pass. So I want to make my thing happen first, right? Once he gets his posture, he's in a little better position now to start attacking. So I do have attacks from here, right? But I'd be better off to start attacking while he's down and then attack him on the way up, right? Because now a lot of my attacks are diminished. So let's break his posture down then. And let's start late, because this is late here, and I want to break his posture down. So there's a couple different ways we can look at doing this. I can push the hands, I can pull the hands apart. I can push the hands together, right? That's pretty much it, right? But, so here's the thing. The first one I'll do is like, the more vertical he gets, the more I want a low guard. So I'm trying to squeeze his butt and cross my ankles and pull my heels toward his butt like this, because that's a lot more controlling. If I just let myself like hang around here, this is a huge difference. When he feels this right here, that's a big difference. I'm squeezing his butt right now, right? So now like this low Y here, because watch it, when I pull his hands apart now, I have the ability to pull him forward better. See, I picked his knees up off the ground almost, you know what I mean? But if I do the same thing with a higher guard here, like say around his waist, and I try that same thing, he can kind of like Titanic it, you know? So we go here like this, low. Did you see that, the visual? So we go here, and I'm gonna pop the hips up like this, pull the hands apart, and then lift, thinking about my heel picking them up right here, right? So now once we get to here like this, then we can start moving into something else, right? So then, a good way to keep him broken down, I'm gonna try to twist his head off like this here, and I wanna try to cover that on, that way, right? The second one, just because that's gonna be boring to just practice that one, is I'm gonna push his hand, I'm gonna bump up, push his hands together like this, and then sit up here, this way, and then pull him back down, like this, right? So this is kind of binding. So what he has to do, what the guy in the guard doesn't want to do at any time, he doesn't want to put his hands on the floor. Well, guess where? His hands have to almost go when he gets them free. Like they have to go to the floor. And so then we can start like establishing a position that takes advantage of the fact that his hands are on the floor. So the hands apart, pull him down, hug, or the hands together, sit up, hug, and pull him down. Questions?
Let me see it, brother. I'm good. I think I got it. Yeah, it's easy.
All right, let's go. There's no space here, or insufficient space, so I don't want to necessarily try to come up this way. Like there's times to do that, but it's not when he has vertical posture, so it's gonna be a little harder. And if I want to pull here and he doesn't want me to pull his hands apart, then I'm probably not gonna pull his hands apart, right? I'm not the man for that job. That's why the bump is so important. Because whereas I can't pull here, I can't pull his hands apart, he don't want me to here. But if I bump, you see what I mean? Like it's just a little punch. It's not like don't bridge, because he'll acclimate to that. This is a quick pop,
Okay.
And then get the hands to the floor, and then pull him back down or whatever. And then if we heal here, right? And we were talking about this, like if I bump here and I decide this time I'm gonna go crossed arms for whatever reason I decide this, and I want to come up and get a hold of him, then I can open my legs if it helps me to sit up, right? I can adjust my guard like we were talking about. I can go low or high. I can adjust my, I can open or close them. But whenever I get there, it is possible that he may keep his posture vertical, like here, yeah. So then I'm just kind of like, all right, here. But the thing is here, like if my legs are relaxed or even pushing against the floor, it may not get the job done. What helps more is if I straighten my legs and I push my hips into him and kind of dive, you know what I mean? Because like this, you want to think about the structure here. It doesn't, like, if you examine the structure, then it doesn't take a lot of like weight to topple the person over, I mean, think about how much can you, what's that one thing, like good mornings, like with the barbell? Is that what that is?
Sure, yeah.
Think about we can, like, good morning versus a deadlift, right? One should be like quite a bit more, I feel like, right? I mean, because like on one, your shoulders are going over, and I may sound completely ridiculous, like saying this in front of you guys, but I mean, think about what you can pick up with your shoulders past your toes versus like in line here. Like that's a lot. So whenever I'm trying to manipulate the structure of the person, I'm trying to take them over a wall of their foundation, right? So if you think about dividing up their structure, and in this case right here, they have a nice solid pyramid of structure. They have the center of their mass directly in between the 3 points of their base here, if you look at that triangle. And then you have points here, and then you have walls between those points. If you take a point over a wall, you're gonna topple the structure in some direction. And that person will struggle to reset that structure, right? So you just make it to where they can't. You block that out, right? We talk about this, I talk about this every time I do something, so if you guys have heard this before, I'm sorry. Or you separate the points so that they can't maintain structural integrity any longer and the structure collapses. And usually it's a combination of those two things. It's usually trying to separate the points to weaken the structural integrity and then take a point over a wall. And then you're gonna topple that structure pretty easily, right? So it doesn't matter the size even. If you can accomplish that task, it doesn't matter the size, theoretically. So, does that make sense?
Yes.
Any questions about these couple of ways of breaking the person down? Right? I think it's always good to have some kind of thing about keeping the person's sure. No? All right. Okay, that looks like okay. So feel free.
Oh God, no.
Oh no. All right. When we get the person broken down though, then I want to, again, like I was saying, I want to create angles, because if you think about, so the person is broken down here on top of me like this. Well, let me do it. Sure. So let's pretend he weighs more than I do too. So if I'm in your guard though.
Oh, okay.
So if I'm like this here, right? And he's got me broken down like this, right? Well, that doesn't take much for me to pick him up, right? I mean, and that's not a big muscular feat for me to pick him up, even though he's heavy, right? I don't have to struggle for that. So as long as he's under my foundation and I can do this right here, I can pick him up. So it's gonna benefit him then to create an angle. Now, if he cuts an angle and he gets out on the side more here, so just get this here, and just go regular guard, this is fine. But even like this here, if I want to try to pick him up now, it's going to be significantly harder because it's off center, right? This would be the easiest place, but my center line is facing here, his center line is facing me, so he has a big benefit here, So thank you. Sure.
Looks like you have a big panda wrapped around. He looks more than something
over like this here. This is kind of a good place to start, regardless. You start here, and you have a pretty good jumping off point. And when I say that, across the board, gi, no gi, strikes involved, no strikes involved, because this takes out a lot of the striking potential too from here. And I want to hang out here, but I want to get to a more advantageous position here. So since everybody's over here, we'll go this side. So let's say we're like this here. Now I want to start trying to create some kind of better angle for myself. So what we're gonna look to do is I'm gonna try to an elbow escape on this side, right? He may give that to me as it is, but I like to try to get here on this and then slide down to the wrist and push myself off to the side here. I don't want to try to cup here. I'm trying to keep this foot to his hip because that's gonna also help to kind of manipulate that structure and not allow him to sit up. Now variations on this here, this right here just by itself is fine. This is a good position here like this. I also like hugging the leg here. This is good. So you can mess with this and see how this feels to you. You can come under your leg and hold the shoulder. I like this one a whole lot, right? Or gable gripping here this way and pinning that shoulder down. This is really strong. And you see guys like Sean Williams and Neil Melanson play this guard a lot, and it's really effective. You got a lot of attacks from here, and we'll do some of them tonight.
I did it wrong. I was doing it wrong. Yes, I know.
Oh, okay. So, but here, the benefit of this one is that I keep his wrist pulled so that it doesn't allow him to base on the floor. You know what I mean? So I want to keep that pulled. I can hug your shoulder here like this, right? If you can't get through that space, you can hug your leg here, right? So let's kind of look at those, and then once we're here, we'll start to talk about setting up some submission opportunities from that, right? Questions about getting into that position? Could you do one more time? Yeah. We get in this position somehow, like this, right? And from here, if when I first get here, if she tries to correct, because remember I was saying, once out here, it's gonna be hard for her to posture up as long as I have this hand off the floor. Her center is facing the floor, my center is facing her. So I'm kind of weighing down off center of her. So it's gonna be hard to pick me back up. But she can though, she can correct and try to turn back and face me, right? And when she does that, I wanna keep this hand behind. It's gonna be hard for her to stop me from doing that, right? So I'm gonna open that space here. She goes to do that and keep it open with my leg until I can bring this leg inside to here and then hop, right? Now, here's the thing on the finish though. This is an easy setup. For the most part, she does most of the work for me. So I'm here like this. When she starts to go up, I open, I twist the wrist away, because look at the difference. If I just hold, she may keep it this close. If I rotate this out that way, then it opens it up a lot wider, and that can come inside here, right? On the initial bite here, if I want to get really particular about it, this is okay. This is much better. The reason for that is that my shin is going down, my calf is going down in line with her spine here. She can feel the big difference, like where I bite here, and this one reinforces it. Okay, so that's a big difference here. So the one on the neck needs to be on the bottom. To finish this triangle, you can lift up, you can pass the arm over here, you can step, you can do this, shoulder walk out and do like 50 steps. Or you can do it better and go like scoop either her arm, if she's ginormous, like this here, or I scoop her leg like that, right? Now I'm gonna hold the back of her head rather than messing with her arm. So what's she gonna do if I grab her arm? She's gonna hide the arm, or she's gonna lock the arm down, right? But if I grab the neck here, she's not gonna do that as much, right? So then I'm gonna look to rotate here. Spin a whole lot. Now, here's a detail in the triangle that increased my triangles by at least a solid 17%, right? I did the math, I've got it written down somewhere if you want to. But like, I want the inside of this knee to touch the top of her shoulder, right? That way. Then lock it up, okay? So, because here's the thing about the triangle. This does not a triangle make. I mean, it literally makes a triangle. It does. But I mean, look, like, that's, from my massive hamstrings, that's as much as that's closing right there. I would prefer instead, because the thing is, my knees are facing opposite directions. But if I can get my knees facing the same direction, that'll seal completely up. You know what I mean? So that's the goal. That's the goal. And that's why I'm using the inside of that knee. So again, what are we talking about here? She opens up. I shoot the leg inside here, cross, right? And then when I get ready to finish, I'm gonna hold the back of the neck and inside the thigh over here. If I can't reach, I'll go inside the arm. Spin, perpendicular. This knee touches the top of the shoulder, inside of the knee. Touch the top of the shoulder and then close up that way, okay?
Yes, sir.
Don't do this like I just did, like flex your feet. But when I'm demoing with somebody with a triangle, it sucks, like it's like tight the whole time. So, does that make sense, all those steps? It's not really that many.
It's okay.
All right, so let's try it. Because just size differential or angle corruption or whatever, you know. So if we get here and let's say that I was able to, you know, successfully like establish this here, but when she starts to come toward me here, I'm like trying to get my leg inside, it's not quite working for me. Well, the easiest fix is just like, to some degree, she wants that arm in. Otherwise, like I would just like throw it away. I could keep a big space open. But like if that's the case here and I don't feel like I'm gonna be able to get that leg inside, then I'm just gonna straighten the leg past the arm and punch it here this way, sorry. Punch inside here like this and then capture, right? And then there's the capture for me. And so then at that point here, like whenever she squares up to me, then just finish out the triangle, the same way that we did a while ago, right? Now again, like this brings up a good point too, because this has happened a couple times, like your partner is like way down here, which is less likely, I think a lot of the times. I think it's more of like a compliant partner energy, more than it is a live energy. But let's say that it does happen and we do get here. If she's that far down heavy on this side of her body and this angle, that means that the opposite side and the opposite angle is gonna be light. So just make the sweep off over here and come up and then just finish the arm bar, or maybe even make a more dynamic sweep and wind up mounted triangle. But you know, you can just fix that on your own, just figure it out, you know. And there's something else. What other problems? So I think about the one I was gonna say. Any other problems with triangles? Everybody?
One of my problems is every time I go for a triangle, they posture up super hard and super.
What do you do about that? Just let it go and be like, dang it.
Pretty much.
Okay. I'll show you what I do with it. Let me actually kind of swap out and borrow you. Because if they're little, then I just drive them back down. But like if they're So like I get like here, and then you're gonna posture up right. Okay, so yeah, from here, and then what's your escape? Okay, cool. All right.
I was about to say, man, if you shake your head, you don't have an escape.
Okay, so from here, when you posture up, you're not going like completely. It's not that you're going vertical; it's you're going back. So to some degree, you're going back. So if we're thinking like Jiu-Jitsu-y, then I want to like accentuate the direction that you have an inclination to already go. So if I'm trying to pull you down and you go to posture up, right? Okay. So then I'm gonna try like waiter sweep from here, right? So like as he's going up and back here this way, I'm gonna try to go this way. Now you may hit it, like I hit it like once in a while, like just low percentage, but you were laughing at I may hit it once.
He's looking at me.
That's
funny,
I'm
too.
looking at Anya. Anya is holding in a lot right now.
Yeah. All right. So we go here, and I may make the sweep from here, but the thing is, like, if he doesn't want me to, he has to resist back, right? Pull him back down. You know what I mean? So like, it's usually I'm just like I'm gonna drive this way real hard, and then he's gonna change his mind and push back into me, and then I'm gonna let that collapse, right? So yeah, just from here, I'm trying to pull him down. He postures up. I can try to go waiter sweep and pull him back down, right? So the idea here is like it's just push pull. It's in the simplest terms, push pull, and that push pull will have like a lot of far-reaching applications, both of those, like across the board, and the tempo in which you push and pull will sometimes, it will vary a lot. This right here is like a 1-2, it's like a push pull, but it can get like even smaller in frequency, right? We talked about like that armbar release. I always use that as kind of an example of like a kind of a microscopic push-pull kind of thing. Because the push and the pull, the idea is that I set the pace and it's hard for him to acclimate to it, right? You guys don't know what I'm talking about with the armbar thing. You will as soon as I show it. Like if he's on his back and I'm trying to finish the armbar, right? And we get here, you know what I'm talking about, right? So we get like this and he's holding and he's trying to stop me. So like turn your head. Yeah, exactly, right? So like we here, and I'm trying to pull, and the harder I try to pull, the more he resists here. But if I like, and this is just, to me, this is a push and pull. It seems like I'm just like shaking his head, and I am, but like that, it makes it harder for him, because he can't acclimate to that rapid fire succession of push and pull. So that, it makes sense to me. But those are the two biggest problems I see. One on the entry, so if you can't go inside the arm, punch the arm through, go around it and capture it. And then if he's trying to posture to break to the resistance and to pass that, then do that, the waiter sweep to break down. Now if, let's see what else. So we don't just have triangles from there. If that's all you have, then you're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket, right? Let's talk about, what's the next thing? Let's talk about from this guard here though. Here, because we mentioned Omoplata, we mentioned stuff like that. Before we go into all that though, let's talk about what we can do with this here, right? And there's different things that we can look to do from here. Some of it, like I said before, depends on your flexibility and everything else. But this one's kind of cool if you can get it to work. Like if I can really like hike this up and pull this in nice and deep like that, and then kind of pull his head toward me a little here, and then reach across like this. See what I mean? All right. So if this is why I intentionally keep my quadriceps small, so that I can reach around like that here. So if I had massive quadriceps, I couldn't do it.
Show him Mike.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. See, this might not be the choke for you. But you can do different variations of it. Like as long as I can get this over here and kind of ratchet. The key to this one is kind of ratcheting. So I'm going to try to pull his head this way. I can just keep a fist here, just keep holding his shoulder, and then slide as high up on my ankle as possible. And then I'm trying to bring my forearm to this one here and squeeze, right? Or just punch choke right there, right? So these are the little tight ones, like little smaller ones here that you can kind of get, right? Of course, like from here, if I pull this in this tight and I'm trying to pull his head this way and he's resisting, then he's gonna make an opening for me to get around this way here. And then like that's gonna lead to a lot of cool stuff too, like the one that we talked about last time, where I can get across here, right? If I can get here, I can get the arm bar just from here. Or I can get like the straight jacket from there, right? If I'm going here to pull and he pulls back because he's massively strong, like this here, then you pull him back this direction and go Omoplata, right? So like those all happen in kind of a tight confined space where you can just keep attack, right? That's several things, but I don't feel like it's worth spending a lot of time on any one of them if you want to practice a few of those. Does that sound good? You guys remember? Absolutely, yeah. Okay, so we go to this position, and we're gonna go back to here. Now keep in mind, like this does not have to be set up exactly like this. It doesn't have to look exactly like this. This though is like it's like a lazy rubber guard, you know. Like if we just wanted to go like from here, and you have like the ability to do it, you can go here and then kind of like reverse engineer the position and then play like a true rubber guard, and then set things up like the same way. But it happens a lot of different ways that we can look to do this. You can also set up, just to have a different setup, you can keep in mind, this is pretty obvious, that from this position, we can go right across to start setting up our omoplata. But to have a different setup, we'll go from the arm bar. The way I'm gonna set up the arm bar from here is I'm gonna reach across, I'm gonna pull her elbow to the center, right, like this. And just to really illustrate, I'm gonna push the elbow to the center and push her head over it like that, okay? This is all I need. I don't have to pull way over here like this and this and this and this, right? That's a great setup, but just to illustrate, I wanna go here, get her elbow directly under her head. Now once her elbow's under her head, I'm gonna use the same kind of twist that we did for the triangle, right? So the most important thing on this one is that I ball up here and get like on one vertebrae of my spine. Like that's how balled up I want to be. So then when I spin, this leg is very important, and this is the most common mistake that people do, is they make this leg lazy, right? So you don't want a bladed grappler 3 arm lock, right? You want instead, if anybody saw the clip, you know what I'm talking about. So we go here and I spin here, and I want this leg coming up that way. So knee pit to armpit like that. This one comes around here. You can go to this side like we did before, but because I have both arms inside, it's not gonna get the triangle. I just hop around again and go to the arm bar here like this, okay? If you would prefer to push this way here, this is fine too, right? And then when we go here like this, I'm gonna spin and get her weight pulled forward a bit. That's the job of this one. So I need to get her like pulled over. I push the head away a little to get around, or use this knee on the shoulder to turn to this position and come around, right? Like that, okay? You can do this like a lot of different ways. This is like, everybody should kind of know that if she's here and she's just straight up murder choking me, like this, that this is how we can do this one too, right? Okay, yeah, same thing. If she's framing with the forearm against my neck here like this, right? Frame back, spin. Okay? So whatever it is, I'm just using the spin this time to go straight into the arm lock, okay? And then let's do that just a few times, and then after we get that really smooth, then we'll go into how missing that we can go to omoplata, right? All right, let's go 1, 2, 1, 2. This arm lock. Again, right? And they'll bite with the feet, but like, first of all, don't cross your ankles, right? This is against, like, don't do this first. There's a time that this is good and this is effective, but it's very case specific. For the beginning stages, concentrate on the bite here. So I'm biting, I'm keeping my heels pulled down like this and her crunched in, so that it's hard for her to posture up if she wants to posture, right? And then whenever, I don't want to like extend my legs and push her away, because eventually that's gonna allow her space to pull in here. So I wanna keep things tight. So I'm thinking not pushing her away, but taking my pelvis that direction there and keeping the arm down, right? Okay. If I'm doing this one here, like this, and I'm going to spin and everything, I don't move that hand. I keep that hand right there on her elbow, right? So, because there's no reason to move it. This is reinforcing and it's keeping her from pulling the arm out. This hand right here is fine for trapping her wrist. I don't need 2 hands on this one, you know? In fact, if I switch back to here, then it's gonna be easier for her to jerk her elbow out, right? Because all she has to do is jerk and clear my hips, and now it's gone, right? So that's the idea. But we'll use that as kind of a segue. Unless there's other questions about the arm lock. Right. No dumb questions, like, because there's people who, yes sir.
So, just for all arm bars, where you bring the pelvis up behind your head, or over that way behind your head?
From the guard, I'm gonna try to be careful not to say like all the time or anything, but the idea is still the same. I want to go 90 degrees that way with my pelvis, right? Because my pelvis is the fulcrum for the lever, right? So when we're here, the pressure needs to go 90 degrees that way. That's why, because like if I push any other direction, it's gonna like it's not gonna be a significant force, and it's not gonna hyperextend the elbow, you know. Hyperextends. That's fine. What's sub-lugs? I always say that. What's sub-lugs? So you don't want a sub-lugs because you want it to be broken.
Depending on how angry you are, yes.
All right. Well,
Subletting is illegal.
Doing this without breaking it. So like we here. So yeah, like if I just lift straight up, then actually that angle is more like that. So that's not gonna be good enough. She can jerk her arm out. But if I go that way, you know, like think about that, then it's gonna go 90. It's gonna break her arm better.
Right. So it's going to get back in order to actually become 90 degrees with her.
Exactly. I want to bend it 90 degrees the wrong way. Right? I want a flamingo leg, that shit. So whenever we get here, I was very angry. When we get to this position here. But okay, here's the thing too. Like so, real quick. This was something that like you guys ever learn like that headlock defense on the ground? Like you work the headlock defense on the ground. It's like where it's some variation of like she puts me in a headlock here somehow, right? And then I do some kind of escape, you know, one of those things here on top, right? So now when we get here on top, and she's still got the headlock, right? She don't want to let go. She's like a little pit bull. So like we go here, and I'm gonna open the space, I'm gonna step over, and then I'm gonna do my frame escape, right? Like this. And then she's gonna let go. And then what do you do after this? So everybody learn like day 2 Jiu-Jitsu class.
Sit and
Take the arm, right? Here. So I don't know. I don't like to teach it like that anymore because it's like, of course you need to learn like these locks and everything, but it's when I'm teaching like first basics like self-defense, and I try to like front load taking the back and doing chokes over locks. From a legal standpoint, that's not good advice, but from like the self-defense standpoint, I think it's great advice. Because you choke somebody and they go to sleep, they're
I don't know.
much more guaranteed.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Unless you're dealing with the cops. Both of them are maybe.
So,
Both of them.
Only one's
maybe a
attempted
permanent lasting injury would be maybe.
Blowing out that elbow is
If they blow it out, but he's on the chokes.
we're comparable chokes to comparable to
I think blowing the elbow would
blowing.
be more serious than just
I think they're both. I think both of them are equal.
Get a good lawyer.
Well, but the
Where
choke,
we
like,
are
it
in the
could be
parking lot.
attempted murder.
Well, that law of self-defense thing is a serious bodily harm, and the choke
Without
on the
death,
same
it's
level.
just it falls under maybe. If he doesn't die, it falls under maybe.
If there's that harm, but if
Yeah.
you're just choking on fine.
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But that's not even
So-
the legal part is not even my point. The point is like
You gotta ask him.
what we do when we train in here, we train to respect the tap. You know, so you're going to tap, and tap is going to be the termination of that attack, right? So we're not always in the mode of training all the way to like fully destroying that joint, and that takes a little bit of a psychological kind of edge to really like be okay with like breaking that thing. You know, for normal people, like
Psychological.
yeah. it's like- so
What the hell are we playing the game for if you're not gonna hit the ball?
so my point is
You guys
like,
are not keeping points.
and it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine if you take into consideration that you're brandishing a weapon, you know. And just like if you're going to pull a weapon on somebody, you have to have the intent to actually use that weapon. You know, you should have the intent to actually use that weapon and follow through with that, or you shouldn't pull the weapon at all, right? I mean, I think that's, you know, I mean, it's a big liability to pull a weapon out just to scare somebody, you know, or just to get compliance. Okay, so at least you should know that there is the distinct possibility you're gonna have to use that thing if you pull it out. So like, in my opinion, unless you're willing to break that arm, don't threaten the arm. Don't, it's not, I don't think it's healthy training for self-defense to think that you're gonna get in that arm lock position and sit and hold and negotiate with that person. It happens, it can happen, it has happened, and you've seen it happen. There's close to, like there's video footage of that happening, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's a dangerous and can be a kind of a liability if that's what you think is going to happen. So, all right, what are we talking about? We're talking about Omoplata. We get here, and I spin, and she rips the arm out because my arm bar sucked. So we get here. So now I have this one. Obviously, I can't break this one the same way, right? So the lucky part for me is that the arm was on this side this time. If it were on the other side, then we would do something different. But from here, since she pulled the arm out and we're in this angle, also if she postured up from here, then I could go back to triangle, right? So just keep that in mind. But she's here, I have this angle here. I'm gonna spin again, just like I was spinning for the arm bar the same way, right? So I keep rotating. And then once I get here, I'm gonna figure 4 the legs. I'm gonna try to get this foot to the floor here. And I'm using this hand, this one's inside the leg, this one's holding by the wrist or the elbow. And then I wanna pedal away, right? Because I don't wanna think about finishing this shoulder lock while her shoulder's still off the floor. Because if I try to sit up right now to finish and she postures up, she'll win that, okay? So I've got to get her flat. So what I need to do here is I need to like pedal away and drag her with me. So I keep the tight figure 4, squeezing the legs. And I would like to stay inside of her leg here, this way, if I can. And pull like this immediately. And once I get that stretched out here, I can start to look to grab here around. If she has something clothing to pull onto, but this is no gi, so it's illegal to grab the clothing, but like if I can grab clothing, then this would be good. To pull here like this, or to hold here and pull this way. Honestly, I feel like I can reach farther with this hand if I switch like this, so I'm gonna try to pull her hip as I pedal and stretch and flatten her out like this, okay? Once she's flat, then I have a chance at least at finishing Omoplata, right? Now this detail right here is important. If I just go like figure 4 and I'll leave space for her elbow to get in, she has like ability to rotate. Yeah, like that. So I want to pinch this way. So you see how that is reinforcing the triangle? Yeah, yep. And so then whenever I go to sit up, I want to keep this until it's uncomfortable anymore to sit up, right? And throw this arm over across her body. If I want to finish like just generic, like basic, fundamental style Omoplata, I'll let this one go, put the hands on the floor, sit up, push the knee here. It's a good way to learn it, right? If I want to have a better chance at getting a submission from here, I want to scoop this arm here, this way, right? And then start to think about breaking this arm instead of that shoulder. It's going to be harder to stop her from rolling out. There's no way she's rolling out of this one, right? So, one more time, full speed. Just kidding. We'll go here. Spin, she pulls the arm free. I figure 4 like this, pedal away and drag, right? This helps to a degree, but then like, I want to try to switch and then drag, pull here, get her flattened out. I start to go to sit up. When I go to sit up, I want the elbow on this side and to try to swim underneath and get this so she can't roll out, right? That way. If you want to try to finish Omoplata from here, that's fine, but uncross the legs here and just leave the S curve rather than the figure 4. And then hands on the floor, sit up, push the knee to the floor, that way. Okay?
So if you're looking to attack the far side arm there, and you have to figure 4.
Yep.
Is the intention not to complete the Omoplata here, but to go for the other arm?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's gonna be hard to finish the Omoplata
With the figure 4.
Yeah. It'd be better to like just finish this one, right? Or you know, if you can't get her arm straightened out, then just take it back this way and just kind of chicken wing it, you know. So does this make sense?
Yes.
All right, let's try it on 2, 1, 2. Here, go to Omoplata is like she's hugging my leg. Yeah. So like, there's no way I'm gonna go to triangle, right? So what I'm gonna do to free this leg here that's trapped is I'm gonna bring this to this side of her head. And the same way I would make a frame like this, I'm gonna make a frame against my ankle and use that to pry that leg free. And so like at this point here, this is when I would cross the legs, because the reason to cross the legs is so that when I start pedaling with this one, if I just try to like pedal and this is open, she's gonna be able to pick my hip up. Because now she's only picking up my leg and hip and she's affecting my angle. But here, I'm gonna be able to keep this trap down stronger. and then whenever I go to pull, it's gonna drag, and it's gonna create the more efficient angle with my hips, right? So I guess Cliff's Notes version of the answer I'm trying to give you is as soon as I can on this side, get both my legs to this side, I figure 4.
All right, and then how do you make her flatten out?
To keep walking away, because this goes back to what I was talking about, corrupting the structure. If I want to collapse the structure, I separate the points. So right now, where the points of her structure are 2 knees and then an elbow over there. That's her structure. Now, so freeze, so don't move. So if I think about these 2 points here, you know, I don't know. This is a wall here, and if I pull this shoulder this way over that wall, that's going like 90 degrees against that wall. So she's gonna have to fall, and she can't repost because that arm can't do it, and this arm here, I've got control of it. So she's gonna have to collapse. Yeah. She's gonna have to collapse. She can, from here, if she beats me to it, she can adjust these points. So if that's the case though, if she goes away from me, I'll still collapse her. But if she pushes her hips and knees toward me though, so if she comes this way here and she tries to go this way, then she's gonna like go, and then we wind up in this position. And I snap the arm like that. So does that make sense? I mean, she can stay away from me and I can flatten her out, or she can drive her weight on top of me where I can't flatten her out, but I'm gonna be able to roll her over. All right.
It will. One day you'll be rolling and you'll go, oh!
Yeah, I always tell people like one of the first like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu moves I ever learned was it was a half guard pass. I didn't know what the hell half guard was, so it's like I had no reference point for it. And then like about a year and a half later, I found myself like really repetitively getting in that position, and it just kind of like those details of that move that I learned way back then like started to come out because I was finally ready for it, you know. But I don't know. Any other questions about any of those 3? No? Let's talk about if the person's splitting my guard somehow, right? And what I'm gonna do, what I can do from there. If the person is, how do I split the guard first of all? If I'm inside her guard, how do I split it? So the kind of old school traditional way is put the knee in the middle of the butt and then like open the legs, sit back, push, and those pop apart, right? So somehow I get the knee there, I step back, I push the hips down, and I sit here this way. Now, I'm probably not gonna stay on both my knees, right? Because if I do that, she's just gonna scramble here. So what can I do once her legs are open? Really?
Look, she was with us. She was with us. We were trying to best. I'm so sorry. I hate when they do this to me. It was not my fault.
One last that was on me. So when we get here,
It's like, you need our help.
when we get here, like some strategies. Let's PG this out over there. So my knee can come up here this way, and I can think about like knee cut, right? So this is a common kind of way to pass. Like once we get here, it depends on what her legs are doing, right? What are the angles? So if I split the guard here like this, and her legs stay at this angle, then it's probably better or more effective for me to go over somehow, right? If once I split here, she retracts the legs back, maybe it's better for me to go like double underhook pass, right? Something like that, okay? Maybe it's a good idea for me, and if it is me, then I'm gonna be looking to stand up here this way to pass, probably. So, you know, those kind of like will determine then what I can most effectively do. And whatever I can most effectively do is what she needs to have an answer for, right? If I do something stupid, she can kind of figure it out, right? So that's kind of how we'll approach this. So either I'm gonna stay on my knees and she's gonna catch me while I'm still on both knees. I'm going to bring a knee up in the center, or I'm gonna stand, right? Those are basically our options for me. Okay, so let's swap places here. And the first one that I'm gonna look to do here is once she goes to split, she puts the knee in, she sits back, and then this happens, okay? So if this is the case here, and she has, we'll say that this is tantamount to her stand on both knees, because if the front knee is down, it's the same kind of thing basically. So I can look to make sweeps from here, right? And I still think that a good like standardized sweep is scissor sweep, if you know how to do it, right? And the way I'm gonna look to do that, I don't put the feet on the floor, right? Even if they can touch, because it's gonna give her better access. So instead I'm gonna lift my butt by basing on her legs and throw it out to the side, right? This way, right? Then that's gonna create a little pocket of space here where I can kind of keep her posture down. So I'm gonna hold here, back of the neck and the back of the tricep tendon, not the actual tricep, but like down here, closer to the elbow. And then this knee first is gonna go toward her chest. Why? Because if I go here like this first, she'll flatten my leg. So I go knee to the chest first here, right? And then the most common mistake people make when they go to scissor sweep, whenever I'm actually ready to sweep, I will go more horizontal, but not until then. I'll stay here until then. And when I actually go to sweep, it's not as much about the legs, it is about the pull, right? So we go here, and I'm gonna retract this way, and that's gonna pull her off her center, right? And then we'll make this sweep, and we'll try to get to the top position here, okay? Does that make sense? So she splits the guard this time, here, this way, and hip out to the side, okay? I'm trying to get the back here of her occipital ridge. Wow. Yeah. And then I want to get her olecranon process right in the palm of my hand. You know what that is? Okay, so look, we go here, and then look, I want to turn, and I want to keep my hands curled here and retract. Don't do this. Okay, I know it's silly, but people actually do that. So I keep her curled in, pull off her center here, and then get to the top position, okay? All right, any questions about scissor sweep? No, let's try it somehow, okay? And just let's leave this one down for now. So we'll go like combat base. Okay, so this can be an issue here. So the big thing from here, like immediately, I don't want to necessarily retract my legs back like this, because on the way, if he's got good timing, he can like wrap for double under pass, right? So I don't want that necessarily. So what I want to think about kind of in the beginning is, where can I put this foot? There'll either be space between his heel and his butt for me to come inside for like a shallow De La Riva hook, right? If there's no space there, it's too tight like that, then I go shin to shin this way instead. Those are two kind of very simple kind of responses, right? So you either go behind the ankle or in front of the ankle, basically, okay? So the first one, well, no, De La Riva gets a little convoluted. So we'll just talk about, if I can't get my De La Riva, I'll go shin to shin here, right? And if I go shin to shin, then he's probably got this one kind of extended out somehow. He's not just gonna have his hands back. He's gonna have his hands somewhere, and I wanna grab kind of with intention on this. I like the wrist and the elbow for this one, right? If this is the case. Then I wanna step here on his collarbone, like that. Like axe kick to the collarbone, and then while he's dealing with that. No, then I want to pull this way to kind of take his center off center, and then extend my bottom leg out that way. You see what I mean? And then he's gonna be like really stretched out like that. So it's a good opportunity sometimes for a triangle. So I try to go De La Riva. If he seals that space and it's not happening here, then we can go shin to shin. And a simple one from shin to shin is just blocking here. So I make sure that I don't scoop this one underneath and just pull back to guard. I want to pull to triangle. So I want to pull this off center. I want to extend this out here this way, right? And then drop into the triangle, go back to the finish like we did before. Make sense?
One more time.
Yep, okay, gotcha. He splits, right? And on this one, I have the space to go shin to shin, ankle to ankle. I hold the wrist here. You can go baseball bat style here like this, or we can go 2-on-1. I step on the collarbone, I pull him off center, take this leg out so that he doesn't have that knee in the center to be able to stop me from getting my triangle. Make sense? Let's try this.